Hello again. I am back in California. Had a great couple weeks at the Kimmel Hardy Nelson Center for the Arts, Nebraska City, and I thought I'd take this video to share something else about doing residencies abroad, or just traveling in general, that has become something that I've tried to do wherever I go, which is to meet up with local theater people. Now, I started to do this years ago, just kind of reaching out to people, whether it was for research purposes, whether it was to pick their brains about something, or just to introduce myself. And it can seem pretty daunting, scary, especially if you are just starting it off and you don't know anybody. So I thought I'd just share some tips and thoughts that might help it be less scary. First thing is, don't sweat it if you don't get a response. This was a hard thing for me to learn at first. I believe I once Facebook messaged Andrew Lippa because we had a mutual friend on Facebook and he never responded, and I was very offended. But I think now, having been on the flip side where I've had people reach out to me or add me as a friend on Facebook and I've never met them, I don't mean anything personal when I don't accept the friend request. So my out of the blue Facebook message to Andrew Lippa, I'm sure he took one look and was just not into it. So you just have to remember that people are busy, and if they have no idea who you are, they may not have the time to try to figure that out. Which brings me to another thought, which is that having a referral or somebody refer you to somebody else is pretty helpful in getting that initial I'm a stranger vibe out of the way. This is where the whole idea of it's who you know, you've probably heard that thrown around, really matters. And I used to also kind of be a little judgy of this, like, why should it be about who you know? How are we ever supposed to get a chance at growing our careers as playwrights if we have to know all the right people? I used to think that sometimes, but I realize now people like literary managers, artistic directors, agents, they're so busy. And if they had the option of responding to a cold email from somebody they've never met versus responding to an email where a colleague of theirs has recommended that they get to know this person, they're gonna choose the one that is referred by somebody they trust, because that's already vouching for that person, and it saves them a lot of time, because I'm sure people in those positions get tons of emails from playwrights and actors and directors, just trying to get their foot in the door. But without that kind of stamp of approval, which is maybe a terrible way to put it, they don't have the time to look into every single email, every single person that contacts them. So having somebody refer you is always helpful. Now, is it always necessary? No. I have actually found that many people are gracious and generous with their time, especially if you offer to pay for coffee or tea or a meal. That would be my third thought or tip, which is, since they may not know who you are, sweetening the deal by offering to treat them to something is always nice, because then it's a little bit more worth their time, because at least they're getting something that they needed to get anyway, food or a little coffee break. Now, when I was in Nebraska, because of the work I've done with Theater for Young Audiences, I was able to visit with the Rose Theater in Omaha, and that literally was just a email to the artistic director saying, hey, I'm going to be in town, part of this residency, and they encourage us to look into visiting with local organizations. It would be great if we can meet up. And as a result of that, I was able to visit with their Young Playwrights group, which was an amazing group of teen playwrights, and also see one of their performances, as well as meet up with the artistic director and their playwright in residence. And it was a great time. I feel like as long as you're not drama and you're not asking for anything that is kind of overshooting, although it doesn't hurt to maybe ask, but maybe be respectful of people's time and don't be overly pushy with what you're asking for. These meetings really can be what brings you into the presence of like-minded people and artists. who are doing what you're doing. So this is just something that I've tried to do whenever I travel somewhere different. If there's any people that I think it would be fun to meet up with, relevant as far as my career goes, or even just somebody who would be engaging to meet up with and to bounce artistic ideas off of. It doesn't hurt to reach out, and it's something I would encourage emerging artists to do, and to do respecting people's boundaries and reaching out. So that was kind of stream of consciousness thinking around meetups or networking. I probably missed a lot of things because I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head. I find that the theater community, broadly speaking, is full of people who want to make great art, who want to push art forward, who want to enact social change through art. And if you're like that and you're wanting to meet up with like-minded people, if they have time in their day, they generally are open to meeting up. And if you have any thoughts on what goes into networking and meeting up with people, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. All right, I will see you next week.